One professor at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, David Perry, who is chair of the communications department in charge of teaching future journalists, used his platform to tell students, quote, people will die as a result of, quote, white Trump voters. This claim is absurd and demands answers.
I am not sympathetic to the white voters who made over $50,000 a year and said that we are going to vote for Trump. Those people I am not sympathetic to, and I do not believe that you have to open your heart to them. If you are a person of color in this room, if you are a woman in this room, you do not have to open your heart to them. People are going to die because of what happened. And if we don't start there, we cannot have a conversation. People's lives are on the line now, and it's time we got real about that.
He needs to be more blank so that the American people respect and admire him. Ungro told his daughter not to answer, and in response, her teacher, Adria Zawatsky, took off 15 points. What the heck?
And my daughter was awarded the 15 points back, which is a nice thing, you know? It was wonderful for them to do that. So I guess it's a case closed thing now, but it's good to keep the conversation open, because one thing that this taught us is that we have to be a little bit more diligent into what the schools might be teaching our students about their political views rather than their parents, and it should stay out of the classroom.
Trying to watch our partner network CNN en Espanol today, well, you can't. Not on TV anyway, because the Venezuelan government has pulled it off the air. It comes, this move, just days after the network aired an investigation into the alleged fraudulent issuing of passports and visas by authorities in Venezuela, possibly to people with ties to terrorism, which would not be a good thing. Venezuela's foreign minister accused CNN of conducting a, quote, imperialistic media operation against her country.
الصحفيين جريمة. Oni koji ih ubijaju, odnosno proganjaju, ne smiju ostati nekažnjeni.
Uluslararası toplum gazetecilere insan hakları ihlalleri, ırk ayrımcılığı ve hukukun üstünlüğünün tanınmaması yönelik haber yapmak için güvenli ortamı sağlamalıdır.
فلنتضامن من أجل حماية الصحفيين.
علينا توفير بيئة آمنة للعمل الصحفي لترسيخ حقوق الإنسان وحرياته وسيادة حكم القانون.
Državama ne smije biti dozvoljeno da bez odgovornosti proganjaju novinare.
Lack of accountability spreads a culture of intimidation and silences the voice of truth. We call upon the United Nations.
نطالب الأمم المتحدة. Apeliram na Ujedinjene narode.
Birleşmiş Milletleri çağırıyoruz.
Why should we suddenly be awash in fake news? How is this profitable? And is it as new as we think? CNN, in a long analytical piece, argued that people share information not just to inform or even to persuade. It is used as a marker of identity, a way to proclaim your affinity with a particular community. But is fake news all that new? What is the difference between fake news and propaganda? As CBS journalist Ben Swann points out, the US government has just passed a law allowing it to fund and disseminate propaganda under the rubric of countering foreign propaganda from Iran, China, and Russia.
The bill also creates a grant program for NGOs, for think tanks, civil society, and other experts outside government who are, quote, engaged in counter-propaganda-related work.
As Swann argues, counter-propaganda turns out to be a convenient label for propaganda.
But isn't that illegal? It was. But no, not anymore, because 3 years ago, wrapped inside the 2013 NDAA, was an amendment that removed the ban on the U.S. government creating propaganda and then showing it to U.S. citizens. That ban, by the way, had been in place since 1948. It became a major story weeks ago when an armed man decided to investigate a D.C. area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate? And are there any actual facts to support the story? There are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Self-described online investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles. What media is ignoring is that the Comet Ping Pong pizza place is actually referenced in the Podesta emails at least a dozen or so times, and that the owner of that place, James Alefantis, is a friend of John Podesta. He He was actually named, this is kind of strange, by GQ magazine as one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington. Yes, we're talking about a pizza parlor owner. Now, to begin, I need to show you a 2007 unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI, contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Also, Comet Ping Pong, owned by Alphantis, is the place where a number of performance artists perform regularly. On this Comet Ping Pong poster include a group called Heavy Breathing and another group called Sex Stains. Well, if you check out the YouTube videos by these bands, Heavy Breathing has songs that do joke about pedophilia, and the band Sex Stains has a video that includes, and you see it right there, that same boy lover symbol. It's nearly identical to the one that the FBI does say is a pedophile code symbol for boy love. Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago. He was referred to by the judge as a serial child molester. According to the Washington Post, visitors to Tony Podesta's home in Falls Church got an eyeful when they walked into a bedroom at the Podesta residence hung with multiple color pictures by Katie Grannon, a photographer known for documentary-style pictures of naked teenagers in their parents' suburban homes. Now keep in mind, again, there is no proof here that there is a child sex ring being operated out of a D.C. pizza parlor. Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually, no. And that's what you need to know. For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
New information on mounting tensions in Austin, Texas, after immigrations and custom agents launched a series of raids last week, rounding up dozens of undocumented immigrants. Now the public school system there is at the center of a firestorm as some teachers, parents, and administrators take matters into their own hands. Casey Stiegel, live in Dallas with that. Casey.
Yeah, John, taking matters into their own hands in the form of distributing a single piece of literature that has got a lot of people talking. We're going to show it to you now up on the screen. It's called Know Your Rights. The handout is actually being disseminated by the American Federation of Teachers, the second largest educators union in the entire country. Now, on it, there are bits of advice for immigrant families, like don't open your door if ICE comes knocking, because federal agents cannot force their way inside unless they have a warrant or you invite them in. Well, some public school teachers down in Austin started sending this information home with certain students because they say the material is to simply help educate immigrant families on their legal rights and to help quell fears over the uncertainty of President Trump's immigration plan and executive actions.
They will use a smartphone app, and they have data. And we have about 350 million people who have feature phones which use the USSD channel that does not need the internet. And then for the balance 350 million people who don't have phones, they can use their Aadhaar number and do a transaction. They don't need any device at all.
The Aadhaar National ID, this is a program that you spearheaded, and it transformed India, made every Indian count. You're saying that the Aadhaar ID is now being hooked up to bank accounts?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, India runs the world's largest cash transfer program, and the Aadhaar ID, about 1.1 billion people have the Aadhaar ID. It's the only billion user platform outside the US. 300 million people have Aadhaar linked bank accounts.
Scientists at Harvard told The Guardian they're getting close to bringing the woolly mammoth back to life, but not in the way you might expect. By splicing mammoth genes for features like long shaggy hair and cold-adapted blood into Asian elephant DNA, the group hopes to create a hybrid creature similar to the extinct giant mammal. Woolly mammoths disappeared from the planet roughly 4,000 years ago, and their potential return is controversial. While Harvard project leader George Church believes resurrecting the mammoth ensures a future for the endangered Asian elephant and could help fight climate change, others are concerned about draining resources for animals that need help now.
Come back to life. Visitors at historic sites thousands of years old can now use virtual reality headsets to see what they looked like. Digital artists use Renaissance-era art to recreate the relics.
Good morning. Take a look at this. This cavernous space was once above ground, the grand home of Emperor Nero, and considered one of the most magnificent palaces ever built. Its name, Domus Aurea, means the golden house. It's hard to imagine that it was once colorful and flooded with light, but now modern technology is allowing tourists to peer into the past.
Today, tourists can explore it, but the colors, light, and opulence of this ancient Roman villa were unimaginable until this month, when visitors could start using virtual reality glasses.
The room looked out centrally onto one of the two pentagonal courtyards.
Tom Popup is visiting from New York.
You always try and imagine in your mind what it must have been like, and this helps tremendously.
Virtual reality brings to life the Domus Aurea's grand architecture, rich colors, and opulent walls inlaid with precious gemstones. All of it had been lost for centuries.
We weren't mean enough to our robot friends already. Now Bill Gates wants to put a tax on them.
If the robot comes in to do the same thing, you'd think that we'd tax the robot.
Robotic workers can be great for productivity, but automation is leaving a lot of humans looking for work. Gates told Quartz he wants to tax companies that use robots. That money can be used to retrain displaced laborers for work in fields like healthcare or education, where robotic competition isn't as much of an issue. Yet. It's not a totally new idea. The European Union recently considered laws to tax employers using robots. And a far-left French presidential candidate has added robot taxation to his policy agenda, right next to marijuana legalization and universal basic income. But the idea of punishing innovations that could make businesses run better rubs some commentators the wrong way. And that's not to mention the civil rights issues. If we start taxing robots now, it's only a matter of time before they start demanding the vote too.